Super Rugby Round 6, Friday. Get my days of the week right. Friday games, there's 3 of them on. You got 4 of the Aussie Conference teams, including the Sunwolves, so it's only the Rebels who aren't in action from the Aussie Conference this Friday, plus 2 of the Kiwi teams. You got a double header going on in terms of the Sunwolves, Brumbies, and the Waratahs Chiefs both been played at Wynn Stadium, Wollongong, so a bit of a gap between. I'm not sure if they're going to put that game on the big screen or if you're just going to go out to get a feed or how that's going to work. But if you're getting 2 for the price of 1, that's good stuff because that's 2 interesting looking games in terms of what's going on with the fixtures. But yeah, should be an interesting Friday. This game is on pretty early here in New Zealand, like 4:45. So the odds of me seeing much of that pretty slim. But anyway, I'll be at work, but we'll see how things go. The first one, like I mentioned, Sunwolves Brumbies from Wollongong, with the COVID-19 causing the games in Japan to be cancelled, so it's a home game for the Sunwolves, but played in Australia. It's an afternoon Friday game in Oz, so I'm not sure what the crowd will be like. I would imagine a lot of people are still at work, but maybe some people take the day off, have a long weekend, watch a couple of games of rugby. It could be an interesting one. 2 teams whose fortunes are rather contrasting. Sunwolves with an early win and then 3 losses. The last 2 particularly disappointing. Their points difference at the moment is minus 123. The next poorest one is the Highlanders with minus 47. So that kind of gives you a bit of context in just how bad the last couple of results have been for the Sunwolves after a good win to start the season. But the Brumbies, on the other hand, have been very good. They've only lost the 1 game, 3 wins, and the 1 game they lost was a very close one where they probably should have won it. Good result against the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago. They are coming off the bye, so they should be really well rested and cracking to get back into action. They've not made a whole bunch of changes from the team that beat the Chiefs. Still Banks, Cutter, and Pulu in the outside backs, Kurandrani, Simone in the midfield. Lonergan has come in at number 9, so Joe Powell's on the bench. CO swaps with James Slipper. But other than that, it seems to be pretty much the same forward pack as well. So Brumbies, I guess, not looking to take the foot off the gas. They want to get back into the swing of things. And maybe if the guys have just had a rest, they don't want to rest players for this one. For the Sunwolves, they've made a few changes as well. There's no Horan, no Dargaville this week. Takeda, Engelbrecht, and Tassi make up the back 3. I think Tassi was on the bench last week, and he's been alright when he's got some minutes. April and Page are the 9-10 combo, which is probably pretty good news because they've had a bit of a disrupted time recently. Nunamaki's there at 7, tackling machine. Stolberg probably been the most impressive of the Sunwolves players so far this season. He's been really good at lock. Look for him getting heaps of the ball at line-out time and maybe making the odd break if the ball comes his way. That being said, the Sunwolves are heavily favoured to get heavily beaten. Rugby Forecast algorithm has got the Brumbies by 22 points, and the bookies go one step further, saying it's going to be Brumbies by 29. So with the last couple of teams kind of putting 60-odd points on the Sunnies, the Brumbies are predicted to go out and do something similar. So it'll be a fascinating one to watch and how the Brumbies approach it, because early on it looked like they were just going to be relying on their maul, but they proved in their last game against the Chiefs they've certainly got some backs who can run it as well. So for the Sunnies, man, they got to get their tackling sorted. They were falling off ridiculous numbers of tackles in the last couple of games, and that is never going to be pretty in terms of the final score. But yep, there we go. The next one, which is the Crusaders and the Reds, has been a little bit, not a lot, a little bit in the media saying, man, 2 Aussie teams have gotten results over Kiwi teams in a row. Rebels over the Highlanders and the Brumbies over the Chiefs. So it's a bit of a theme happening here. Aussie teams visiting New Zealand and getting a win. No pressure, Reds, but an away trip to the Crusaders is a pretty tough one. And like I said, that talk has been kind of minimal. I don't think anyone's really expecting the Reds to get much of a result here. Brad Thorne on his return to Christchurch. It's a very difficult place to go. They haven't lost the game there in such a long time. It's almost impossible to remember the last time they got beaten there. Who was it? I can't even remember. It's been that long. Is it a couple of years? It's been a long time. So the Reds, they are 1 win and 4 losses. They're 1 win coming over the Sunwolves. And as I mentioned in a couple of previous videos, some of their losses have been kind of encouraging losses, if you can have such a thing, where they haven't been getting absolutely trashed. But the last result against the Sharks maybe showed that their losses are still deserved losses, because they weren't at home. They weren't able to really pick things up to that level where the Sharks are at. But the Sharks are a very good team this year. The Crusaders, they've had one blip against the Chiefs away from home. Other than that, they've looked very Crusader-like in their performances. Some of their guys have been just standing up and certainly replacing some of their higher profile guys who left after the World Cup. But Barrett is back for the Crusaders in this one after having a bit of an injury layoff. They've rested Havili and Enor for this one, so Bridge is at fullback, Reese is on one wing, Faingo Nuku is on the other wing, Dallas McLeod starts in the midfield, and Inari gets to start at 9. The back row, Grace Christie and Sanders is still there. They've been excellent. So Moody, Taylor and Jaeger will be an interesting one to see how they go at scrum time, because Moody's going to be up against Taniela Tupou, who does concede a lot of penalties himself, but a lot of them not necessarily at scrum time. He concedes a fair few around the park as well. But their front row, JP Smith, Murphy and Tupou is pretty good. They've rested players well. They've put Tate McDermott on the bench, who's probably been the Form 9 at the competition so far. Honestly, he's been really good in the team that's not been doing that well. And James O'Connor is injured. They've given Isaac Rodder a rest. Salakai Aloto is in the second row this week alongside Hawkins. The back row of Scott Young, Wright and Wilson is still the same. But yeah, a lot of pressure on their 9-10 combo of Malolua and Lucas. First starts of the season for them in those positions, I believe. Or did Lucas get one run at 10? I forget. But either way, going away to the Crusaders. Tough ask. And that's reflected in the forecast algorithm and the bookies. 23 points for the algorithm, 24 points for the bookies, saying it's going to be a long night for the men from Queensland. Hopefully they can, at least give a wee bit of a challenge. I remember the Waratahs went close a year or two ago, and it was an unfavoured Waratahs team as well. They actually put in a pretty good shift. Not saying the Reds will do that, but hopefully they don't get absolutely annihilated. And the last one is the second of the two games at Wynn Stadium. Waratahs against Chiefs. Waratahs finally picked up their first win of the season last week over the Lions. The Chiefs have had a week off to kind of think about that disappointing result against the Brumbies. The Chiefs were looking like the team to beat, and then they absolutely just looked flat against the Brumbies. The Brumbies looked way more fired up for that one. Maybe they thought they were going to be able to kind of cruise it in, but I guess whatever the reason was, they certainly paid for it, and no doubt Warren Gatland would have got the guys fired up for this game to kind of set their record straight. The Waratahs have named a fairly stable lineup, but they've got a few guys out their injury in terms of Simmons is out, Nawanita Wase is out, Robertson is out, Gordon is out. So they have had to make a fair few changes. Kurtley Beale's going to captain the side from 15. James Rams on the wing alongside Maddox, Hunter Newsom in the midfield, and Mitch Short and Will Harrison are the 19 combo. So that's a fair bit of inexperience there. And they're up against like Brad Weber and Aaron Grudem, so a couple of All Blacks, just to make your life a bit more difficult. Swinton Hooper, Dempsey back row, Ryan McCauley's into the second row because of the absence of Simmons. And Angus Bell was in top form last week, so let's see how he goes against the Chiefs. The Chiefs, there's a fair few All Blacks in the lineup. Sam Kane's captain, he's at 7, so Akula's there at 8, Boshia's at 6. Ross, Tokiaho and Helen Hayes, the front row, Allardyce Ardron, second row, ALB, Tamua Manu midfield. Actually, a fair few of these guys aren't All Blacks, but they're like, kind of just dropped my pen, close like Sean Wainui, Sean Stevenson, and Solomon Alamalo. None of those guys are All Blacks, but they are all all very, very deadly players with ball in hand. So, yeah, that one could be high scoring. But that being said, Rugby Forecast has Chiefs only by 3. And the bookies have got the Chiefs by 9. So saying it's going to be a bit more than that. I'm not sure. It's always that question about, is it the week off giving you a good rest, or is it the week off adding a bit of rust? I guess the result kind of determines it. If you lose, you say it was rust. If you win, you say it was a good rest. So it could go either way. But all the teams who were on the bye are certainly the favourites for this one because they are up the right end of the table. All the other 3, just the 1 win and having a bit of a struggle at times. But yeah, we'll see. There have been certainly some upsets in Super Rugby this year. We'll see if that continues. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on these games. How do you think they are going to go? Any particular upsets you are picking, or do you think it is going to go the way of the favourites? Drop the video a like if you are generous enough to do so. I would appreciate that. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.